Get Up Nation. My name is Ben Biddick. I am the creator and host of the Get Up Nation podcast, where I serve individuals, organizations, and societies to develop and sustain resilience and perseverance. I'm the co-author of Get Up, The Art of Perseverance, with former Major League Baseball player Adam Greenberg. The Get Up Nation podcast is brought to you in partnership with GotYourSixCoffee.com, where Navy veteran Eric Hadley is committed to serving first responders, veterans, and their families through a variety of nonprofit organizations. No stranger to adversity, Eric has fused necessity of coffee with his passion for public service. You're already purchasing coffee. Why not empower your coffee with purpose? Why not purchase coffee that not only has your six, but also has the backs of those who don a uniform of service for our communities and great country? Learn more about Eric and his freshly roasted, award-winning coffee at GotYourSixCoffee.com. Recently, I had the honor and privilege of speaking again with Dr. Michael Lewis. Dr. Lewis graduated from the US Military Academy at West Point, Tulane University School of Medicine in New Orleans. He completed post-grad training at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, Johns Hopkins University, and Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, where he developed the ESSENCE program, the nation's first and largest syndrome-based disease outbreak recognition system that is used by the US CDC, health departments across the United States and many countries around the world. Subsequently, Dr. Lewis was assigned to the AFRIMS Research Laboratory in Bangkok, Thailand, where he established the DoDs Global Emerging Infections Surveillance Program. There he developed and coordinated programs across Asia, led investigations into disease outbreaks, and was at ground zero for SARS and bird flu. Dr. Lewis is board certified and a fellow of the American College of Preventive Medicine and the American College of Nutrition. He's the author of When Brains Collide, What Every Athlete and Parent Should Know About the Prevention and Treatment of Concussions and Head Injuries, and the founder of the Brain Health Education and Research Institute. Dr. Lewis, welcome back to the Get Up Nation show.
It's great to be with you again, Ben.
Yeah. Today we're going to be discussing some key concepts when it comes to mental health in an election year and a pandemic and civil unrest and more. Doctor, with all of your experience responding to health threats and challenges, I want to get your insights into how we may be becoming desensitized to the suffering of others, with so much of it happening all around us and in our own lives at times. We've got newsreels 24 hours a day showing violent images in our streets. We've got incendiary and insulting conversations by our nation's highest-ranking leaders. We have people dying at alarming rates due to COVID-19. How is this all affecting us?
Well, it's been a concern for a number of years, with a lot of the gaming that goes on, and we talk about the idea of kids playing games where they're stealing cars and shooting people and war games and so on. But it's been going on much longer than that. I mean, when we were kids, I don't know about you, but your parents probably get away from the TV. You've been watching too much. It's the what do you call it? The dummy box or the zombie box or whatever. I mean, so it's been a concern ever since we've really had electronics. Think back to the 1960s. The idea that we had all of a sudden war footage pretty much that same day about Vietnam and what was going on there on the evening news, and there was a big concern: are we being desensitized to that? As opposed to previous wars where it might have been newsreels and updates and so on. So this has been going on a while, but it's really, as you mentioned, it's really intensified. And 2020 has been a heck of a year so far. Everything from, being an election year and the way the candidates go at each other, the way both sides of the Congress go at each other, everything you're seeing. And you're right. It's everywhere. Instead of 3 stations on the evening news and the morning newspaper, now we've got 6,000 news channels or however many, and 24 hours of news. So we have an hour of news and 23 hours of an opinion about the news. And if that's not enough, we've got social media where all your friends are bombarding you with it. And, these things in our hands, called cell phones, these really supercomputers. We can't get away from it. So we are being desensitized to it, and I think we're starting to see that even wearing masks as an example, is people are just getting tired of it, and so what do we do? That's the big
Right.
question, right?
Yeah, and you have some great answers for that, for how we can, draw back from some of that desensitization and actually pay attention to the human beings that are in our lives that we may take for granted or just see as an image passing by. Certainly, the process of desensitization has happened, in various military environments where it frequently happens when we're in combat with another group of people. We frequently dehumanize the other in order to cope with the violence that happens during combat. And isn't that frightening with the amount of violence in our communities today, how we can dehumanize and be desensitized to the value of human life in our streets, or for those who have opposing political views, for those who think differently or dress differently or appear differently. It's a serious thing to be desensitized to that. Would you agree? I mean, it's a serious part of leading to violence to be able to dehumanize another human being before it happens.
And it's a sad state of affairs, not just for our country, but for the world, really. Because, I don't think it's necessarily just an American problem.
Sure.
But certainly, that's it's where we live. And it's not the norm of how we think of ourselves as America, right?
Right.
And so it's, the idea that just, the callous approach to violence it should be concerning, should be alarming to every citizen. Right. And we've got to reverse course.
Right.
Is it that November 4th everything's going to get magically better one way or another? Probably right. Not. I think that we're gonna go through a bigger period. I think in a couple of weeks of protests, no matter who wins the election or looks like who wins the election, because the other side's going to call out the other side saying it's not an affair. Right. It just goes on and on. Yeah. It is absolutely essential that we bring the human part of this whole equation back into it. And I'm not a psychiatrist, but I think we're all smart enough to realize that we just can't keep going on like this.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that gives us guidance too, as we draw back to really orient or give us a perspective of, what are the actions that we're taking or not taking. It helps us to really bring order to our lives that may be kind of feeling like they're up and down, or our routines have been altered because of pandemic, isolations, or changes for community safety, or changes in commerce or business. So we're going through these changes rapidly, but it's a great way to orient ourselves to, at the end of the day, to realize truly that what matters most during this life, I guess arguably, it's the significance of how we impact other people, what relationships we have. I mean, there have been scientific and sociological studies that show how important human connection is to mental health and to our physical health, both aspects of our health, that we need to be connected with other people, that we have longevity when we have healthy relationships and stay connected. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And that brings up, this whole COVID thing and how we've approached it. And again, this is not just in the United States. This is worldwide. I mean, and many cultures, many countries, they've locked down much worse, much firmer, much harder than what we have here. And I really worry about this new generation, the kids that are growing up. And imagine you were a high school senior earlier this year, and you're going into the spring when you got senioritis, and then all of a sudden everything shut down. And now you got seniors, and they have eliminated a lot of the sports, and you've lost that social interaction. That's just high school seniors. That goes all the way down to the youngest of the kids. I mean, my parents grew up in the Depression. I mean, I see how it affected them the rest of their lives, growing up in the 20s and 30s. And so I fear for this new generation and what impact that is going to have on them for the rest of their lives. The generation that grew up wearing masks and not having that socialization. We complain probably a bit, about kids not interacting very much with each other because they could be sitting next to each other and they're texting each other.
Yeah.
Well, now they're not even anywhere near that, so this isolation, I think we're starting to see an uptick in suicides, depression, the mental health illness, and I think it's only going to accelerate. And we're heading just into the winter, and that it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Right.
And the devastation that we're seeing, not just from the mental health, but also the people's physical health, as well as financial health. I mean, small businesses are getting devastated. I think we're just now, even at the very, very beginning of personal bankruptcies, small businesses going out of business, the foreclosures on houses, and all of that will lead to more mental health stress. And we're going to be in for a rough ride the next 2 to 5 years, unfortunately. And the question is, how do you take personal responsibility and take care of yourself?
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I love about the Get Up Nation network here, is what we focus on is that resilience. And so for frequently what we focus on are these challenges, and we try to get a realistic understanding of those challenges and unfiltered look at what is the seriousness of this. And you've articulated very well. I mean, we're talking about a mental health crisis. We're talking about physical health crisis. We're talking about desensitization to violence. These are huge challenges, fiscal challenges for people and businesses in our communities. So maybe what we took for granted for a long time may have been removed from our common day experience. But at the same time, we're going to look at the profound opportunities that we have right here to possibly remove mental health stigma from people's lives or from our communities, because we're more aware, from older age people all the way down to our children today, of what happens when we experience a mental illness, when life pulls the rug out from under us to a certain extent, and we're kind of reeling with these challenges. We experience the anxiety, the depression, the fear, the shame, all of the different emotions that come and go that follow these changes. And so maybe some of what we're getting to, and what I love having your expertise on here, because you help us to really orient to the importance of self-care and how that affects not just our mental health, but our physical health. And so for your insights into, helping, as you said, you noticed in your grandparents, they experienced the depression and that affected their entire life. So how excellent is it for anybody watching this to say, we know that our children are experiencing something somewhat traumatic here, and especially if they're seeing these images on their screens or on mom and dad's screens of violence, of scary things that they're experiencing, how that can affect children as well. And so this is a massive opportunity for us as leaders, as parents, as professionals, to say, we are going to make the best out of these challenges and become more healthy than we've ever been. So let's get into that. Doctor, you have key insights for us to do exactly that, to get up from these challenges, daily acknowledge the ups and the downs that we're facing, the challenges that we're experiencing, not sugarcoating anything, not just, saying bunnies and rainbows and everything's okay, because it's a significant challenge here that we're all facing. How can we deal with the stress of these emotions, deal with the stress of these changes, and actually experience some health or greater awareness as a result of them?
Well, there's, I look at those 6 key things that we could be doing. First and foremost is, while you want to keep yourself informed, when we were kids, you got a morning newspaper and the evening news we sort of talked about. Yeah. But, one of the best things you can do is take a break from all this. Turn off your television, turn off the radio, put on some nice music, put your phone down, get off of social media, take a vacation from it, even if it's just 24 hours, or better yet, limit yourself to, say, an hour a day. I'm not saying don't stay informed. I'm just saying limit it. We don't need this 24-hour news cycle. You can choose to step away from it. Number 1. Number 2, eat healthy. Use this opportunity to reinvent yourself, if you will. Diet, number 2 and 3, diet and exercise. So if you're working from home, be sure to get up and do some kind of exercise. My favorite thing is to do something outside. Take a walk in the woods. Take a jog or a run if you're healthy enough to do that. But do something, but get into a habit of regular exercise and do it on a daily basis, preferably outside. Nature is a wonderful healer. Eating healthy, one of the things that, sugars and artificial coloring and artificial sweeteners and things like that all help feed our immune system in a bad way. It's like throwing fuel on the fire. So if you eliminate those and really focus on eating healthy food, eating more fruits and vegetables, really kind of more of a fruits and vegetable based type of diet, and lean proteins, that type of thing. So really a Mediterranean diet, if you want to look something up, right? That's really the healthiest diet, particularly for our cognitive, our mental health. And so we really, take the opportunity to renew this commitment to a good, healthy diet. So that's 1, 2, and 3 pretty quickly and easily. Then you can combine things, get outside, exercise, or take a walk with loved ones, being around loved ones. This idea of avoiding people is a horrible thing. Be around loved ones, take the opportunity to have that. In some ways, it's good. We're using Zoom and video conferences to check on people around the country, your parents or brothers or sisters on the other side of the country. One of the things that's forced us to maybe be a little bit more in touch in that way, but be around loved ones. And better yet, combine it with your exercise where you go for a walk or a bike ride with loved ones. The last 2 are, kind of just be a little bit more mindful of things. Maybe if you're into meditation, great. If you're not into meditation or don't know even where to start, just think of it as mindful breathing. Just, it's amazing how much you can calm your system down just by taking 2 or 3 slow, deep breaths in, hold it for a second or 2, and then let it out over, very slowly. So good, slow, deep breaths. And it calms your system right away. And then sort of the last one is we've got to learn to be grateful, be thankful for the things we do have. I mean, hopefully you have your health. Hopefully you have a good family intact. That's going to say all this kind of combines. And if you don't have those, you need to work on your health. But be grateful for what we have. You think about prisoners of war, for example, and people that survived concentration camps, under the worst, the most dire of circumstances. The people that really did well mentally out of that were the ones that were thankful for what they did have.
Yeah, that's powerful. It is powerful to know that effect of taking ownership over what's happening within us and being strategic and intentional about looking at the positive in our world, the things that we can be grateful for, and getting out of any negativity bias and actually looking at all the good things that are happening personally, or it can guide us into taking those actions that you've identified as, well, I'm going to build upon the good that's in my life by adding 1 or 2 things every day, like you've described, to help ourselves and our families experience that greater sense of health. It also takes away from a sense of helplessness or powerlessness. Sometimes when we look at, the news and all of these things that are happening, it can be extremely overwhelming. But if we take, that approach to it and saying, well, these are the good things that I have in my life, and that these are the things that I'm doing to help my family get through this, it can take away from that sense of helplessness and powerless that is so key to the development of post-traumatic stress, correct? I mean, I believe it's a partnership of terror or a severe horror, as well as a sense of helplessness or powerlessness at the same time, that often creates post-traumatic stress, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And, we know from the recent wars that soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and this has been true throughout history, why do some people are in those circumstances and have PTSD, and other people seem to be totally fine. They handle it, without any seeming issues. And a lot of that is just that internal resiliency. A lot of it is how you were brought up. So if you're a parent of young children, make them and let them know that they're loved, and that will go a long way. One of the biggest risk factors for PTSD in the current generation of soldiers is actually childhood trauma. So if you're a parent, it's your responsibility to be the best parent that you can be, and let your children know that they're loved, because that will pay dividends down the line, even in the worst of circumstances.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this, again, I just love getting your insights into this. You have such an amazing resume of activity that you've done to serve our communities and our world, especially with regard to illness and SARS and bird flu and these illnesses that are severely impacting our world like never before. And so to get your insights and to give people the tools to be proactive, to face these challenges head on, to go out there and do whatever is needed to be done, to take care of our own mental health, our own physical health, and that of our children. It's inspiring to learn these lessons and how we can take back, take back a sense of confidence, a sense of calm, and a sense of satisfaction in knowing that we can do something about this. How can we relate to others in a way? What are some insights that you have to helping people connect today, or helping people to have these experiences in the middle of all of these precautions and isolations?
Well, the president gets a lot of grief for saying things like, we shouldn't be afraid of this virus. And I actually, while we need to respect it, I agree with that sentiment that we can't live our lives in fear. You need to respect it. It's a serious virus. It's killing people. You got to take it seriously. But we can't live our lives in total fear. And the idea of, not going outside, not being afraid to do anything, that's no way to live a life. I mean, the best thing is maybe little steps. Do something with people that you know and trust, and your family, and getting outside and taking a walk. For example, even as waving hello to a neighbor from across the street. It's those little steps that can help start to get you back into a sense of normality. And so we've got to figure out how to kind of get back to as close to normal as we can, given the fact that this is a serious threat and a serious virus. But we can't hunker down in our basements forever. We've got to get out and we've got to live life. And we're gonna have PTSD from this for a long time. And so I think baby steps are a good approach. I'm a huge fan of nutritional supplementation. I think, we could try to eat healthy and exercise. That's great. But I think there's ways that we can help support our immune system and keep it strong. On a daily basis, I take vitamin C and vitamin D and fish oil. And I also take quercetin and zinc, because they all kind of work together, hopefully, to keep my immune system strong. And if I were to start to have symptoms, and I did this literally with a good friend just yesterday, he started to have symptoms, and I said, those are the 5 things that you need to take right away, in much bigger doses multiple times during the day. And this morning he wrote me and texted me and said, I'm alive and well. Thanks to that regimen of vitamins that I started them on just yesterday. So you can turn things around pretty quick if you really, and I'm a big believer in nutritional supplementation. CBD, hemp-derived CBD, is awesome for helping calm that anxiety down a little more, but I would make sure that you have that basis of the vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc to keep your immune system strong. But if you're having struggles with anxiety, CBD can be a really powerful tool.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Doctor, for in giving us your insights into how we can be more healthy and how we can navigate these challenges. They're big challenges, but with some of the skills and tools that you have taught us here, we have some big responses to them so that we can continue to carry on and even thrive through a pandemic and an election year. And even if you have to go across the street to the house with a different political sign in the yard than the one you like, try to connect with them anyway, and try to build a relationship, even if you have differing beliefs, just to give each other some brightness throughout the day. Wish everybody health and success today, and thank you, Doctor, for joining us to help us thrive through this.
Oh, my pleasure, Ben. Hopefully we can turn some people's lives around and give them hope.
Absolutely.